Okay, I'm going to call to order this Monday, October 27th, 2025, meeting of the Montgomery County Board of Supervisors. And we will start the meeting with a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance led by our County Administrator, Angie Hill. Angie?
Please rise for a moment of silence and then join me as I lead us in the pledge. Let us pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, Angie. Okay, we have two really great presentations this evening. The first presentation is our Montgomery County Fiscal Year 25 Annual Report, and that's going to be presented by our Director of Public Relations and Community Engagement, Jen Harris. Welcome. We're very excited.
All right. Well, I'm excited to show it to you. There we go. Okay. Thank you for having us tonight. Thank you for allowing me to come and present some of the highlights of the fiscal year 2025 annual report. It's my privilege to present this on behalf of the county, so I appreciate the time you're giving me tonight. And again, the fiscal year 2025 report, it runs from July 1st, 2024 through June 30th, 2025. And again, this year we produced an interactive digital report, and the information is in 6 main categories. And the mouse is up here. We have general administration, public safety, parks, recreation, and culture, community development, health and welfare, and public works. And again, this year we also included awards and recognitions and the annual facts that you're used to seeing every year. And 2025 reflects a strong shared commitment across departments to serve our citizens with excellence, transparency, and continuous improvement, and that's all guided by your leadership and support, and we really appreciate that. A few highlights I want to go over with you. I won't go over every detail of the report tonight, but a few of the highlights include the fact that Montgomery County received 6 National Association of Counties awards in fiscal year 2025 and 1 Virginia Association of Counties award. The finance team earned the GFOA, I wanted to make sure I said that right, award for the 37th consecutive year. And spoiler alert, you already know this, they also received it again for fiscal year 2026, making that 38 years. So we're coming for 40. The Public Relations and Community Engagement Office earned 4 Public Relations Society of America Summit Awards. And in addition, several employees received accolades and awards from a variety of departments and offices for all of their outstanding individual contributions as well. And as you know, we always value citizen engagement, and fiscal year 2025 was no different. The Planning and GIS Department continued work on Montgomery Matters, the update to the comprehensive plan. And they actively gathered input from citizens, as you know, through a variety of community events and village meetings, and that work continues. And in addition, in August of 2024, the local Virginia 250 committee began meeting regularly to plan for the county's 250th anniversary, which coincides with Virginia's 250th anniversary in 2026. As you know, Montgomery County is one of only 2 localities who can also celebrate 250 years in 2026. The other is Washington County. And we appreciate your support when we came to you last year with the tagline of Revolution to Revolutionary, and you also supported us approaching the DMV for a commemorative license plate, and we have pursued that. It does take a little bit of time. We learned the hard way that it's not just one of those things where we snap our fingers and say, hey, we want to do this. It takes a little bit of time. So we are still in pre-sales phase for that, but we will continue to work on that, and our hope is to get those commemorative license plates in production and on vehicles as soon as possible. And I'm not going to give you a super comprehensive report on that now because the local committee would like to come to you at a future meeting and let you know all the plans for 2026. So we're really excited about coming to you at a future meeting for that. The county continued to move forward, as you know, with major capital improvement projects from facility upgrades to parks and recreation. And I know that that new state-of-the-art park, Teal Park, is great, and everyone's very excited about it. But personally, I have to plug the slides at the Frog Pond that went online in fiscal year 2025. My family and I thoroughly enjoyed those. As always, the Management and Budget Office continued effective and efficient budget practices and ensured that the county maintained their AA plus rating, bond rating, and fiscal year 2025 was also a significant year of accomplishments for just every department in general. And again, that was made possible because of your strong leadership, the dedicated employees that we have, our collaborative partnerships. We all value collaboration, and that shows both public and private, even local, regional, and beyond, and most importantly, our engaged citizens. So before closing, I want to recognize the Public Relations and Community Engagement team, Jerlie Aguilar, Becky Hertling, Taylor Carroll, Josh Rosenfeld, and all of their excellent work to compile the information that went into this report again this year. I invite you to visit our online report. You can find that on our website and read more about all of our accomplishments in fiscal year 2025. And on behalf of Montgomery County staff, thank you for your steadfast leadership and support. And we continue to deliver superior service, accountability, transparency, collaboration, and innovation for the citizens of Montgomery County. That concludes my brief overview. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Great. Well, thank you so much. And I'll open just with where can we find this so we can dive into the various pieces of information?
Per usual, we wanted to present the information to you first, and it will be on the homepage following the meeting tonight. It is actually on the homepage now, but you have to go to our department page and look under publications.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Does anybody have any questions? I know we have a lot of information to digest, but does anybody have any questions? Vice Chair Fijikowski.
I hope I know the answer.
It's a license plate question.
Oh, I'll try.
Does DMV give you any assistance with that? I mean, do they let people know that this is forthcoming if they sign up for it?
I'm glad you asked that. I thought about that over the weekend. I thought, can I stand out in front of the local DMV and say, will you guys buy this license plate? I don't know. They did not volunteer any information for us. They said you're on your own until you get to pre-sales, and once you get that, we'll go to production.
And what was that magic number for pre-sale?
It's a lot, 300.
Okay.
We'll get there.
All right.
For
Well,
anybody who pre-orders, we have a commemorative slate ornament, Virginia 250. So all the pre-sales get you got one, right?
Yes, I've got mine.
Good.
That's why I keep asking.
It's coming. I believe in it.
Right. Well, my current tag is about ready to fall apart, so I thought
you
it would
might-
be good timing.
You might need a phased approach.
Thank you.
Okay. And it doesn't look like anybody else had any questions, so thank you very much for the information and for coming to present it tonight. And as promised, we do have two exciting reports this evening. The next report is our Regional Tourism Annual Report, and that's going to be presented by Samantha Livesey. She is the Executive Director of the Blacksburg-Christiansburg Montgomery County Tourism Department. Welcome. We're really glad to have you back.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for having me. So good evening, Chairwoman DeMott, the Board of Supervisors, as well as the citizens of Montgomery County. Again, thank you so much for allowing me to be here this afternoon to share our annual report for the Blacksburg-Christiansburg Montgomery County Regional Tourism Office. But before I begin, I do want to take this moment just to thank you all for your leadership and your support for tourism in Montgomery County. Your leadership and your investment make it possible for us to be able to tell the story of this incredible place, for us to market and advertise, to allow visitors to come here and experience what we already know is a wonderful place for ourselves and for them to make an impact on our community. And bear with me, let me see how I just tap it. There we are. My name is Samantha Livesey. I serve as the Director of Tourism. And as you will see on this slide, our tourism success is truly a team effort. I have been known to say that teamwork does make the dream work, and it would not be possible without our team. I first want to start off by recognizing Emma Cook, who has truly been a very steady and consistent person during this past year of turnover and transition. Her dedication and consistency truly made our tourism efforts be able to continue. She is with us this afternoon. So again, just want to say thank you to Emma for her commitment to tourism as well as our community. I'm also thrilled to stand here in front of you all today and officially announce our third team member, Evan Hull, who was with us today. I believe he's my paparazzi and snapping pictures somewhere in the background. But today marks his 5th day with us. And so really excited to have him on the team. He's bringing already so much energy, great ideas that we're already implementing. So again, really excited to have him on the team. Before we dive into the report, I do just want to say it is worth noting that this is the first annual report that has been published since 2019, and I am so excited to bring this back as a way to showcase what we are doing in our community. In addition, an annual plan of work also has not been developed this past fiscal year. So while I am going to be reporting on data and accomplishments, we didn't have any benchmarks set forth to allow us to have our goals to measure against, but just know that that is something that we are going to be correcting for the future. So we want to start off with the most exciting announcement, and that is Montgomery County had a record-breaking year for tourism in 2024-25. Visitor spending in Montgomery County reached a record of $293.7 million in direct spending, with an additional $151 million in direct and induced impact. And so what that means in terms of direct spending, those are those immediate economic values of what visitors are spending through hotels, restaurants, our retail shops, entertainment. The indirect is going to be that business-to-business ripple effect, so your hoteliers that are utilizing your local folks to do maintenance or painting within the hotels. And then that induced are those wages that are being used by those frontline workers, whether through groceries, housing, or childcare, but still keeping all of that income circling in our community. And what this does, it just paints a picture that tourism doesn't just support our visitor-facing businesses. It truly helps fuel our entire local economy. And then right here just breaks down that direct spending that we saw, that $293 million down by the category. So again, that visitor spending continues to strengthen our community with dollars touching every part of our community. I won't read these numbers off to you, but as you can see, that direct spending touching our food and beverage industry, lodging, recreation, retail, and transportation. And I will say all of these numbers, the local impact is produced and given to us by the Virginia State Tourism Corporation. They release this annually. Also, some great numbers to showcase are the taxes that are generated from our visitors here in our community. As you can see here, $11 million in state taxes, $18 million in local, and then $1.2 million in that labor income. So again, these numbers represent that real impact here in our local economy. And it just shows that these visitors are supporting jobs and helping fund those essential services that make Montgomery County not only a great place to visit, but for us to be able to live and work here. And this number is very exciting. Through the visitors that came to Montgomery County, when you combine those state, local taxes, and you divide that up by the households in Montgomery County, our citizens are saving $778 thanks to those visitors coming into our local economy. So again, we're making an impact here in our community by having tourism here in Montgomery County. And one of the most telling indicators of healthy tourism are those overnight stays. As we like to say, heads and beds is where we really rank our success in tourism. So you can see right here that Montgomery County welcomed 1.4 million overnight trips, and that accounted for 3.7 total visitor nights. That was a rise in the county, and that reflects the rise of the state itself. They also reported record numbers with folks extending their stays. So what that means for us is this is a great opportunity for us to continue to showcase the great things that we have here as an effort for them to extend their stay. How can we get people to come in maybe on Friday instead of Saturday, or extend their stay to a Sunday, or maybe figure out ways to get them during the week for those lower hotel rates. This right here is showing you all where our visitors are coming from, and to no surprise to a lot of us here, the main visitor origin is going to be Washington, D.C. metro area. Following that is Richmond, Virginia Beach, as well as other several key markets up and down the East Coast. But something I do want to point out in this graph is quite a few of these origins have direct flights out of the Roanoke Blacksburg Airport, which that's a great opportunity for us to get in front of them and figure out different ways to market them. Additionally, about 4 of these origins are routes on the Amtrak route. So when we get Amtrak service in 2027, that is another wonderful opportunity for these key markets that are clearly already coming here. How can we expand on that and get them to come more often and extend their stay? And these next few slides are just visuals for you to see heat maps. I know I'm a visual person, so you can kind of see those origins of where those visitors are coming from. The purple and the darker areas are going to be those heavier markets. But you can see we have some Chicago up there, Pittsburgh, Atlanta. Again, quite a few of those have those direct flights from Roanoke. And then right here, this will just show you as they get here in Montgomery County, where are they going? So you can see a majority of those folks are going to Blacksburg, but a large number are also going to Christiansburg, as well as the county as well. And what this does, it just allows us and helps us understand our visitors' moves. What are they doing when they get here, and kind of taking that data and using that to guide us in our marketing and advertising efforts. For our website, our digital presence has shows a continued steady growth across the platforms. We saw an increased engagement on our primary website, the gotomontva.com, as well as that virtual website, again, reflecting interest in driving, when we market, driving those folks to our website. Something to note looking ahead, we have switched our marketing efforts where we're strategically trying to have our digital efforts and guide users to our main website. That way they're able to find not only our virtual visitor center, but community profiles, itineraries, our blog posts, and just in discussion with our digital folks, that's a way for us to drive up that search engine optimization so that we're able to show up more when people search things to do in Christiansburg, Montgomery County. So that would just help with more brand consistency and better tracking for future recording. And then our social media, it continues to be an important driver for engagement and storytelling. Our Facebook had reached over 106,000 impressions, as well as our Instagram had some good numbers as well. Looking forward to growing these numbers and getting in front of especially those markets we saw earlier, but really cool to say that these numbers are all organic. There's no paid advertising behind that. So really looking forward to standing here in front of you all next year with some new numbers to showcase that growth on our social media platforms. And then for our marketing and advertising, we do have a partnership with Geiger and Associates. They have a array of partnerships with travel journalists, vloggers, bloggers, a wide variety. And with them, we host travel journalists twice a year, one in the spring and one in the fall. So this right here showcases our fiscal year where we were able to host 18 travel journalists. And from those travel journalists, we were able to get 32 articles published from those journalists. And out of those 32 articles, we were able to reach 4.7 million consumers. And that equaled in a value of $106,000, which allowed us to have an ROI of $1.41 through our partnership with them. And one of my favorite stories to tell from this partnership is when we were hosting some folks from the Virginia Tourism Corporation. We were at the old New River Bookshop in Cambria, and the owner came up to me and said that he had a patron that came into the bookshop solely because he saw an article in the Alpharetta magazine in Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta. And he saw an article and just made a point of coming up here to Montgomery County, specifically his store, because of that article. So that just showcases the power that storytelling and tourism creates real visitors, creates real money being spent in our economy to create that local, strong economic growth. And then as you can see here, these are just some samples of those articles that have been produced. A lot of these are those regional newsletters such as we have here, but as you can see, there's an international recognized travel and leisure article on there. There's an article on the Blacksburg Executive Airport that is down there as well. So a wide variety and diversity of articles being produced. So looking ahead, in closing, I do just want to say as we look ahead in Montgomery County's tourism, we're not just stable, we're thriving. And I think that goes to show with the numbers that I was able to present to you all today. And I will say that just last week, our team was able to present and host a strategic planning session. It was a 2-day strategic planning session with some of the folks here in this room. Thank you, Angie, for your participation on that. That was in partnership with Virginia Tourism Corporation. And out of that, the goal was to create a 3 to 5 year strategic plan for our tourism department to really lay a foundation and lay the tracks for the next 3 to 5 years. A lot of that's going to include your Amtrak, as Jen mentioned, the MC 250, VA 250. So I'm just really excited. We have a full team. We have this energy and momentum, and really looking forward, again, like I said, standing in front of you all next year where we'll have benchmarks, goals, and objectives for us to show you all. So again, in closing, thank you all so much. I'm happy to answer any questions to the best of my ability, and I will open that up to you all. So thank you.
Thank you, Samantha. This was a really exciting report. And as you mentioned, we haven't had one of these in quite a number of years, so I'm very excited to see you back, or see you for the first time. I know you're new to Montgomery County, but see this report back as something that we can look forward to at the Board of Supervisors. And I also just want to say thank you to Emma and welcome to Evan. We are appreciative of both of you guys. So glad you're here, and happy day 5. You get to come to a board meeting. Does anybody have any questions for Samantha? Supervisor Biggs?
It's not a question, it's a comment. I am so excited about your connection with the Virginia Tech Montgomery Executive Airport, because this is something that our airport board has felt really strongly about, and I know Keith Holt has too.
Yes.
And I'm so excited because after we extended the runway, of course, we have a lot more jets coming in, private jets, and we have people that are coming in that ask what they can do around here.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about your work that you're going to do at the airport.
Thank you. Yes, I had a wonderful meeting with Keith, and he showed me the blank canvas that we have to work with. And I've talked with Angie and what that looks like in terms of Amtrak station, the airport, really have a consecutive branding. So folks are feeling welcome here and like you said, know what to do and know what there is to offer here.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate your enthusiasm, your work, your energy.
Thank you.
All this is coming out in a really positive way. I think we're going to get moving. Thank you.
Yes, certainly. Thank you.
Okay. All right, does anybody, Supervisor Bone?
I think all of us, not that I want to speak for all of us, we're excited that you were appointed and hired. So great job, and your report certainly great. I just have a couple of questions.
Yeah, certainly.
One is, when we're talking about the information that you're getting from Virginia Tourism, I'm assuming that that information is on a calendar year, not a fiscal year. Is that correct?
Yes, I think it's on, I'll have to check with that. That's a good question. I'll confirm with that, but I believe it is a calendar year, that you do say that.
And then, can you go back to the page of Montgomery County, the map?
Yes.
No idea what that...
No, I can't actually. Do it, can I?
If you can't, that's fine. There you go. What is that small dot in the middle?
That's a great question. And I have sent an email. So we get this data from Placer AI. So I do have an email out waiting for response to that. That's a great question. I do not know the answer to that one.
And then
I'll get that back to you though.
My last question is, can you explain what the labor income number as far as taxes are? I don't quite get that.
So to my understanding, that would be, and I guess I probably left out the word taxes on there, so that'd be labor income taxes. So the taxes that were generated back into the community off of income.
But we don't get income taxes. The state gets income taxes. Am I right about that, Angie?
We do not get income tax directly, but then,
Okay. So this
That might be a
contributes to
state number.
Virginia.
yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Certainly.
Great job.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Supervisor
So,
Kitts?
I just want to say, I was very excited to see you come on to this. I'd worked with you on economic development. So one of the biggest things was, and me and you talked about this, was the ROI and showing an increase, especially for our partners in the community, for Christiansburg specifically, to show that they had skin in the game for this. And I'm really appreciative that you were able to do this on quickly grab a hold of it, put your arms around it, get the staff that you need, and have excellent people put in place to be able to make sure that these goals are checked as fast as they were. So I just want to say how much I appreciate that, and I'm pretty sure Christiansburg and Blacksburg does. I can't speak for them, but I'm pretty sure they're happy with the way things are going too. So thank you very much.
Wonderful. Thank you, Derek.
Vice Chair Fijikowski?
Is there anything big coming up for 250th anniversary?
Yes, sir. As Jen alluded to, we are excited to give you all a presentation, but certainly right now working on some grants through VTC as a way to be able to amplify our efforts for next year. But right now, really just working on those partnerships and making sure that what we have planned ahead hopefully will all happen. But I have strong confidence in our committee and what we have going on. So.
Well, all I can do is repeat what several people have already said. But your background has obviously prepared you very well for this job, and all we hear is good things.
Thank you.
And like Supervisor Biggs said, your enthusiasm is what carries all of us along. So don't burn out. Hang in there.
Samantha has been here for less than 5 months and has produced all of this wonderful information. And while her background has added tremendously to her and brought such a great resource to us, she didn't have a background in specifically tourism. So all this information she's provided, you can tell she's really been digging in and learning a lot really quickly. And I do appreciate that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate you all.
And
Thank you.
I'll echo what Steve said, except for the don't burn out. I don't think you're capable of burnout.
I don't think so. I only shine brighter,
yes.
Steve.
The number of meetings that I have been in where tourism has been touched on, and then everybody in the meeting just stops and says, "Gosh, she is so great."
Aw, thank you all.
So in 5 short months, you're making a huge impact.
I appreciate
so
it.
Thanks so much for being here and for this report this evening.
Thank you all.
Okay, and now we'll move on to public hearings, which are equally as exciting. We have Bree Hopkins here with us this evening to give us a presentation on our first public hearing. This is a special use permit for Black Diamond Resources, LLC, and this is 2 special use permits combined into 1 public hearing for a clean earth fill and contractor storage yard. Bree, welcome.
I feel like I haven't been here in so long. So yes, this is 2 special use permits. I am going to discuss them separately and give you all the opportunity to hold your public hearing separately for each one of those, because when you do make action, it will require 2 separate actions. So both of these are for the same property, so I'm going to go over these maps here at the beginning, and then in the next presentation for the contractor storage yard, I won't revisit these unless you would like me to. This property is located just outside the town of Christiansburg here, denoted by the star. You can see this is the 460 bypass here, and then this is Interstate 81 with Roanoke Street going through here. This is an aerial view of the property. So this is the site right here. You can see it has a pond on it. This is the town of Christiansburg line. So here you have Hubble Drive, which comes up through here. This, of course, is Hubble Electric Way. You have some industrial uses in this area, and then you have a residential area here with Village Lane and Rainbow Street, which you will hear about. This is the Montgomery County zoning map. As you can see, most of the area is zoned agriculture A1. There is some residential here, but it is across the railroad tracks. And then because it's located so close to the town and is accessed through the town, we did put in the town zoning map. These orange areas here are industrial uses. This is a residential multifamily area here, small spot of agriculture here, and then the rest is general business. So they have requested a special use permit to allow a rubble landfill to allow disposal of approximately 2 million cubic yards of inert debris and a contractor storage yard. I will cover that separately. The 65.727 acre property is located about a half a mile north of Roanoke Street. It's adjacent to Route 460, the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and the town of Christiansburg. The previous owner had obtained a mass fill grading activity for an agricultural operation that has been in operation since 2017. There are approved plans on file for that. Black Diamond actually purchased the property in April of 2023, and now they're coming forward for a special use permit for an inert fill site. So the proposed site will support the owner's contracting business needs. It will be open to other contractors, but that will be by appointment only. The proposed hours are 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. There might be some limited hours on Saturday, just depending on demand and construction. There are 2 phases planned at this time. Phase 1 is 6.88 acres. Phase 2 is 34.65, and then they've dedicated an open space area of 19.63 acres. This is the concept plan. Phase 1 is shown here in blue. Phase 2 is shown here in yellow, and this is the area that they have already been filling as the agricultural operation. These buildings are shown are part of the contractor storage yard that we'll discuss in the next public hearing. So here's some pictures for you. This is the end of Village Lane. It is the access to the existing fill site, and it will remain open for the proposed fill site. They will not have access off of Rainbow. This is Village Lane. It is also the access to Phase 1, And then there is a residential dwelling that's owned by a different property owner that uses this access, and that's the one here. This part of the access is used for 2 apartments that are located in the county. And this is Simpson Road cul-de-sac. It's adjacent to the property, and you can see there is a natural vegetative buffer there. So you can see the existing operation here. This is phase 2. Here is the pond. Phase 1 would be in this area here. There, you can see the driveway of the house, but it is hidden by the trees. These are our drone footage videos that we have taken of the site. So here is the area that they are proposing for a contractor storage yard, and then this is the existing field operations. Phase 1 would be off the photo in this one. Here's some additional footage. You can see 460 bypass here, the railroad tracks, and then this would be phase 1. Additional, here's the existing, here would be phase 1. This would then become phase 2. So they plan to come back afterwards and fill that site. It would have to be reclamated if they are not using it during the time that they fill phase 1. And then here was, we just happened to be out there when some dump trucks come out to unload some inert fuels. So here's some of the dust that was generated on June 3rd. So the site will be accessed from Village Lane. The town of Christiansburg did ask for a pavement analysis, and that was conducted. They did take core samples of Village Lane, submitted that to the town of Christiansburg for evaluation. The town has stated that they take no exception to the proposal, but they did emphasize that all construction traffic should utilize Village Lane since there were no borings done on Rainbow. The applicant estimates 0 to 30 dump truck trips per day, depending on demand. And the town of Christiansburg did have records of previously investigated complaints related to mud and rock on the roads in 2018, 19, and 21. Of course, that is before the current owner had the property. They do not have any records of complaints since 2023 when this owner took over. The site is anticipated to be operational for approximately 40 years. And VDOT does take no issue to the SUP. So the site's not located in a flood hazard area. Stormwater management will be an on-site detention facility. As each phase is completed, it will be closed out, capped, stabilized, and revegetated. Additional details of reclamation were not provided in the application. There may be a bond required for each phase to reclamate the site, given that the owner may desire to break these phases into smaller phases to reduce those bonding costs. All areas designated as conserved open space shall remain protected and undisturbed, and there is some consideration that needs to be given to dust produced by the site. Stormwater management plan will be required for review by environmental services, and DEQ also conducts some of those reviews for plans and issues some permits. Fill areas cannot be used for future construction unless compaction studies are completed throughout the process, and we would do an annual compliance inspection for the SUP if it is given. So hours have been stated to be limited to 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday with potential limited hours on Saturday. There will be 1 to 2 employees on site to conduct grading operations and smooth out the field. There are multifamily residential dwellings immediately adjacent to this site, so there is a concern for some noise. The town did not indicate any noise complaints have been received. However, we have observed some noise when we were at the site, such as jake braking and then the tailgate clamoring shut when it was dumping. Lighting for the fill site has not been proposed, and there is a locked gate that prevents access after hours. So this is in an area designated as urban expansion. That is the preferred location for new residential and non-residential development. Most of these areas are located just outside the boundaries of our towns or the city of Radford. And the future land use summary does explain coordination between government, municipalities, residents, and land developers is required to accommodate more than 80% of future development within the towns, within the 6 villages of the county, and then our urban expansion areas. So we will encourage high-quality residential and non-residential design in these urban expansion areas and evaluate those proposals. So the proposed use does keep the clean, inert field debris out of our sanitary landfills. It does support construction activities throughout the county. It is important to mitigate any impacts, especially given the proximity to current adjoining property owners in the multifamily development. Pavement analysis, as stated, was provided, and the town did find that sufficient for Village Lane. There are additional regulations within the zoning ordinance to provide guidance. So the minimum lot size is 10 acres, of course. Site development shall be in accord with all regulations, and that's including state and county. Screening of the site shall be sufficient to ensure minimal visual impact to adjacent uses. These adjacent uses are not only the residential uses that are in the town of Christiansburg, but you do have the 460 bypass that this could be visible from. Master plan for the proposed use shall be submitted by the county for consideration. Such plans shall specify all physical changes and improvements to the property, including a phasing plan with timeframes for the landfilling activities, and then, of course, methods for closure once the site is done, and any plan for reuse. The operator shall cause a qualified independent contractor to perform an annual environmental audit that will be part of our SUP review yearly. That is actually submitted to us and to Environmental Services for their review as well. They tend to know the stormwater and environmental language a little better than us planners do, so we'll include them on that. And then, of course, in considering a special use permit for such uses, there are many things you can consider as conditions. Those are listed here: surface materials and design for access roads, control of dust, noise, hours of operations, and limits of the type of materials. Those are considerations you can give if you choose to approve the request. So adjoining property owners have been notified. There have been public hearing signs placed on the property at Simpson Road, Village Lane, and Rainbow Street. Legal ads were published through the Cardinal News. We have received 2 letters of concern. One was early in the request when this originally went to the Planning Commission. That was related to a civil matter, and the applicant and that property owner have had a discussion, and my understanding is it has been addressed. We did also receive correspondence today regarding the reclamation of the site. Additional comments may be received during this public hearing. The Planning Commission initially discussed this in June of 2025, and we did have one citizen that spoke with concerns of runoff and stream pollution. The Planning Commission deferred recommendation to allow them time to conduct the boring studies requested by the town and ensure Village Lane could accommodate the traffic. And then on October 8th, they met and recommended approval by a 7-0 vote. And the conditions they recommended were as follows: use of the site for the rubble landfill cannot extend beyond the boundaries of the area shown on the concept plan prepared by Foresight Design Services. All boundaries of the approved fill area shall be adequately marked on the property and shall remain in place throughout the entire operations. The fill area shall maintain the minimum buffers as shown on the concept plan dated 9/19/2025. Buffer requirement may be accomplished with existing vegetation, or they may plant some new evergreens. Revegetation of this perimeter is required if that buffer area is disturbed at all during the process. The access road shall maintain passable condition at all times. A dust management plan shall be in place for the access road and shall be provided to the county prior to approval of the site plan. All permits from other agencies must be provided prior to approval, and the hours of operation shall not exceed 7 to 5 Monday through Saturday. The site shall be closed on Sundays. With that, I will take any questions you have. I believe Mr. Neal may be here to answer any other questions you may have.
And then you have a separate presentation for the
For
contractor
the contractor
storage yard?
storage yard, yes.
Okay. I will note that we got the same email about the reclamation. So I'll start with a question. In your presentation, you said a bond may be required. What makes it definitely required for closure of the site?
So I would have to ask Scott or Meredith for that guidance. We actually had that discussion today, and I'm not sure at what point they would definitely require a bond.
Welcome, Scott Woodrum.
Good evening, good evening. So as with any development plan, and this being an erosion and sediment control and stormwater plan would be required for this land disturbing activity, a bond would be required for all their ENS measures, their erosion and sediment control measures, and their stormwater BMPs, their best management practices that their engineer selects to be installed in accordance with that approved plan. So that bonding would be for ENS measures throughout the life of the project, and any stormwater management features or facilities that would need to be in place at the end of the project.
But not for closing.
One of the conditions of the final grading would be topsoil, seed, and vegetation in place.
Okay.
So that would be part of the bond estimate that would be received by
Okay.
our department.
That answers my question. And let's see, on the rubble landfill, before we move to the contractor storage yard, let's see if anybody has any questions about this topic. And we actually have this scheduled as one public hearing for both. So we're going to go rubble landfill, contractor storage yard, and then we'll turn to Mr. Neal for a presentation. He's giving me a thumbs up. And then we'll open the public hearing on the whole topic. And so on the county attorney is raising a finger at me.
Yes, just to add what Scott said, if you look at the ordinance, it mentions that they have to put together a plan for closure and future use of the site. And I think if you look in their application, it's not very detailed at all. And so I think it would be helpful or beneficial or even required by the ordinance that they give a little bit more as to how they plan to close it and what that entails.
So is your suggestion, I'm inferring possibly that we could request that as a condition of approval, or?
I think we hear from Mr. Neal if he wants to talk about it, but then I think staff and Mr. Neal possibly talk, and when it comes back, the board not consider approval tonight, but when it comes back,
Gotcha.
Hopefully that'll be worked out.
Okay, so let's see what other questions board members have. And Supervisor Bone.
Can you show any picture from 460, not an aerial view, but from 460? I'm having some difficulty. Maybe the topographic map might be, could you bring that back up, please?
I can. Are you talking about the concept plan?
Yeah.
Let's show topo. We do not have any pictures direct from 460. We can definitely try to get some of those.
I'm not asking you to. I mean, maybe the topographic map will be able to help me. Okay.
So here's Norfolk Southern.
Yeah.
US 460 is here. And currently, this is the area that is visible. You can see this house from 460. So this is probably the area that would be the most visible. These are all trees through here. It's all wooded. So and the green is conserved space that they are not going to disturb.
So the dark green at the bottom.
That is what
left.
they're showing as a buffer area that they will achieve either through existing vegetation, new evergreens, and or some other methods that meets a type 4 buffer in our ordinance.
Okay. I'm not always familiar with types. So
Yes. It's the most restrictive buffer. So generally what's required is some type of opaque fencing, or sometimes they can use evergreens instead.
So my question is, one thing is to plant, let's say, 10-foot trees, but even with the new plantings, you can see it.
Absolutely.
Is that possible with the type 4?
Potentially based on topography. The higher, of
Right.
course, or sometimes you're looking down on it, and so then the vegetation doesn't restrict it as
But
much.
also when you're coming from the mall area direction,
Yes,
I mean, chances are people will be able to see it.
you're going to see some of it. Yes.
What kind of buffer is possible?
There's not. The only thing we can require them to buffer is the exterior boundaries of the property. There's not,
And the maximum height of a buffer initially is what?
we don't have a maximum height. We just have a maximum or a minimum width. And the minimum width is 15 feet wide.
I mean, do you have a max, like?
We don't have a max height.
You have
We
a-
do have a minimum height requirement depending
that?
on what type of plantings it is. So
What's
like,
the maximum minimum height?
so probably would be 6-foot evergreen.
And is there a way to say no to this part, but yes to the second phase?
I'm going to look to Marty.
Are you saying,
I mean, it seems to me that the second phase, you will not be able to see from 460 very easily. First phase, I would think that at least coming from the mall area, going 460 towards Motor Mile, that those people coming down the hill will be able to see this.
right?
Is that what we want our county to look like? You know?
Yeah. I think you can only react to what they're proposing. And so if the board didn't like it, then they could say no with the suggestion that maybe you only do this, the one phase, or the applicant could change. But I think what the applicant's proposing is not that. So
Yeah.
you can't
okay.
just say you can do half but not the other half. Right?
And I'm assuming that no other residences can see anything. My guess is that it's only 460 that is, people on 460 that will be able to see this.
Correct. Currently, there is a house right here that can see some of that, so this buffer yard will actually help that resident, so it'll actually improve there. But other than that, I do not think any of the other residents can see
Thank you
it.
so much.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, Bree, can you bring up, go forward a couple slides? I just want to see, keep going. All right, let's see, not that one. Go next one, please. Right there. I see what she's saying right here because the topography shows a drop off coming through there. There's a gap in there, and I know where it drops off on that side. I understand exactly what she's saying because that whole section right in there, there's not enough of a drop off to be able to obscure what you're going to see from the interstate right there. I'm not keen on the positioning because the way the county and the way the town and the county have grown, especially out towards that area, it kind of puts us in a spot. But I'm 100% with you on where the gap is and what the height would need to be obscured. Because obfuscation is the one big thing we're looking for here. And if you're going to put it in there and fill it up, you want to be able to hide as much as possible. The other thing is you said, and I'm asking this one, 30 up to 0 to 30 vehicles per day going right through that little apartment complex?
Correct.
Okay. I know we're going to hear a couple more things and we're going to hear some explanations, so I'll hold off with anything else until we hear some more.
Okay, do we have any more
Thank you.
questions down this way?
Thanks, Bree.
Quick question to Marty. On what April asked you about the closure and all, should we put off voting on this until we get the results of that, how it's going to implement?
Yeah, I would suggest that or recommend that, yes.
That's all I got.
Okay. Supervisor Biggs?
I agree with the closure part of it because we did get the citizen that, wrote to us about that. It really made me think about it. I also agree with the gap thing about a buffer. I have a question about dust and mitigating that, what kind of plan does that? Is there a specific plan they're going to turn in, or, because I know in the past, we've had issues with dust in the county and people getting very upset, and I understand why, because it goes everywhere. So what is the plan to deal with that?
So they do have to turn in a dust plan as part of their environmental services review. Normally what that requires is something to keep the dust down at the road. So some people, they'll water things down, have watering trucks come in and water down the access and things like that to keep the dust at a lower level. So
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
second part of that is, we've had that before and it's not followed sometimes. So who makes sure that that happens? Like, if citizens are unhappy, do they call you? What do they do?
they normally call, and normally it is enforced through environmental services. So Brett goes out and inspects these routinely, I think every 2 weeks. And so she would go out and inspect, and then if there were violations while she was there, they of course would be notified. But if she gets a call, she also goes out. So she would be the one to respond to those.
So they might be able to expand on what their plan is, so we
Yes.
would know what it would be.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And also, Mayor, you would make that the control of dust odor, and that's is something you could put in the SUP and make sure that's part of that.
Correct. And it is a suggested condition number 5, that a dust management plan shall be in place for the access road and must be provided to the county.
Yeah, I just wondered what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's real general. I want to know what it was. So
Correct.
that really helps. All right, thank you.
Understand.
Supervisor Grafsky, do you have any questions?
Yeah, so I won't get too deep into the traffic stuff until we hear the rest of the presentations. But, I do have a question. So in the application, it states, they estimate 0 to 30 trips a day. They very transparently provided a lot of trip log details, and there were
Correct.
several days that exceeded that, several days that were 0.
Right.
Now, I don't see anything in the recommendation, or I don't think there was anything proffered in terms of the number of trips. But again, without getting into it too much, if you go over a certain number of trips, all of a sudden you're exceeding that ADT limit, that VDOT calculations and things like that. So is there anything that we can do around the management of that, or continue to get reports of the number of trips? Because I think that came up during planning commission, is how do we
Yeah.
manage that?
I think you could definitely have a condition that they have to submit those reports to us. The hard thing is enforcement. And if it goes over, because essentially what that means is I would have to have a member of staff out there
Right.
counting
with a
vehicles.
Clicker, yeah.
So it's the enforcement part of that is what is hard. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Supervisor Bone?
Can we borrow VDOT, wire across the road to count and graph, and then just penalize?
I have never heard of that being done. I don't think we could. I think we could ask VDOT to do a trip study, but the other thing to remember is this is in the town, so it's not a VDOT road. The only thing VDOT looks at is the entrance where it meets the town road. So the town, all the road maintenance, all those trips, that calculation is all up to the town of Christiansburg. And
But is the entrance in the county?
the entrance is in the county, so
So
that's
all we
the
need
only
is-
thing VDOT looks at is that entrance.
And,
And
it's
at
not
that
like-
point, it's just a design to make sure that it's got a commercial entrance design. That's all they're looking at. They're actually not going to get into ADT because it's not their road.
Chances are you can get, what do you have, those forest cameras? Trail cameras, but anyway.
Okay, so let's move to the contractor storage yard presentation, and then we'll take questions, and then we'll have Mr. Neal come up.
Sounds great. So also on the site, they are proposing a contractor storage yard, and this will actually be located in 2 different areas. The proposed hours of operation are the same, 7 to 5, Monday through Friday, with some occasional Saturday hours. The contractor storage yard will not be open to the public, and there are 3 structures planned. However, they do not know the square footage at this time. The equipment will be stored on site. It will be left there. It will leave the site and then remain on an active job site. And then when it's done, it will return for service, maintenance, or storage until it has to move on to another site. So this is the same concept plan. You can see they show one of the buildings here. This is actually shown in Phase 1 fill. They have some buildings here that's shown in Phase 2 fill areas designated by the yellow and the blue. It was explained to the Planning Commission that those structures will actually not be placed on fill. So it would be our suggestion that before we had a condition related to this concept plan that we would update that to show that that fill site does not extend to where those buildings are located. And I'll get into the whys of that here in just a few minutes. This is a closer look at the future additional contractor storage yard. You'll see some employee parking here. These are for passenger vehicle, employee vehicles only. So this is not for customers or guests to be visiting the site for contractor-related services. This is just for employees. And again, this is the same here. You'll see some parking. This is accessed off of Rainbow Street. This is that existing house that you saw in the pictures that we showed earlier. So again, some pictures. These are very similar. This is the end of Village Lane and the gated access to the site. You can see the gate here. This is the end of Rainbow Street, and you can see they've put some concrete barriers up to restrict vehicular access. And then this is the house that you can see. This is the area for the proposed contractor's storage yard. Again, here's an aerial view. This is the proposed contractor storage yard here. And here, the other one is located out of sight of this picture because it is down in Phase 1. So the site would be accessed from Rainbow Street, Bell Road, and Hubble Drive. It's approximately 0.64 miles from Roanoke Street. It does utilize Town of Christiansburg roads as well. They have emphasized that the use of Rainbow Street should not be utilized by any construction vehicles and by passenger vehicles only because they did not conduct any boring test of Rainbow Street. The applicant estimates 0 to 10 trips per day for the contractor storage yard. There is an access route through this neighborhood. Traffic passes through business, industrial, and multifamily zoned areas. We showed you that on the zoning map. So there are some other business and industrial uses in the area. Shively Electric is also just recently located to this area. VDOT took no issue with the SUP on acceptance by the county. Public water and sewer are existing within Village Lane. That would be the Town of Christiansburg utilities. So any proposed utilities would have to connect to those lines. At this point, they have not indicated that they would need water and sewer on site. It's not located in a FEMA flood zone area. Stormwater management will use the on-site detention facility, same that will be used for the inert fill should it be approved. And all of that will be reviewed during a site plan process. The site would require an annual SUP compliance inspection. As stated before, there are structures shown to be located within those fill areas. If they are shown within those fill areas, we would require compaction studies. Those have to be completed as you fill the site in order to obtain your building permit because it is a building code requirement. So we would suggest an updated concept plan just to provide clarity prior to any approval by the board that those structures would not be located on fill unless they are, of course, designated to be located on fill. And at that point, we would probably want to add that the compaction tests were required. Hours are limited to 7 to 5, Monday through Friday. Saturday hours were not indicated, but would result in an increased impact on residents because then you would have both uses utilizing the road. It could be an increase in traffic. There are multifamily residential dwellings in the area. As we stated before, they are required to install a buffer to mitigate noise and that would be anticipated to come from the running equipment. The site will utilize safety and security lighting only. That shall meet dark sky friendly standards. And then, of course, the lock gate will still be in existence, and so it will prevent vehicular access after hours. I'm not going to read all this again. It is in the urban expansion area of the comprehensive plan. Does meet some of the same goals that the inert fill site would meet. The proposed use does support construction activities throughout the county. There are limited impacts on surrounding properties, and there is not any additional burden to existing infrastructure. Fencing or evergreen landscaping buffer would be required to shield those adjoining properties. Again, the Planning Commission held their first public hearing on June 11th. We did not have any citizens that spoke regarding this special use permit. The applicant did ask that we defer it so it could run along with the inert fill site and both of them could move forward at the same time. So on October 8th, it went back to the Planning Commission and they did recommend approval of the storage, contractor storage yard. That request also had recommended conditions. The contractor storage yard shall be developed in general conformance with the submitted concept sketch. A site plan addressing all conformance with landscaping, screening, parking, and other requirements shall be approved. Hours of operation shall not exceed 7 to 5, Monday through Saturday. The site shall be closed on Sunday. We kept that consistent with the inert fill site. If you have two different hours of operations for the SUPs, it's hard to tell what is being used for the contractor storage yard versus what's being used for the inert fill site, especially if you have dump truck and graders and things like that coming and going. Any exterior lighting installed on the property shall be designed to prevent glare onto adjoining properties and comply with dark sky friendly standards. The contractor storage yard shall not be open to the public, and it shall create no exterior impacts including noise, vibration, glare, odors, or electrical interference. Equipment and vehicles stored on the property shall be in good working condition at all times. That means we would not allow inoperable vehicles or equipment to stay there. Any outdoor storage area shall be screened from view of adjacent properties with opaque fencing or evergreen trees. Again, we did notify adjoining property owner notices. We ran the legal ad with Cardinal News. We have not received any concerns regarding this use. However, there may be people here to speak this evening. And with that, I will take any questions you have for me. And then afterwards, you can talk to Mr. Neal.
Okay, perfect. Well, I have a question just to kick us off. Early in your presentation, you mentioned that there would not be any utility connections, but then we talked about safety and security lighting, so I'm confused about that.
I guess utility connections related to water and sewer.
So then I have a follow-up question.
Yes.
Not to get too in the weeds on this.
Yes.
But we have pretty big parking areas for employee parking.
Yes.
There are not going to be any bathrooms?
You would have to ask Mr. Neal.
Perfect.
My understanding is they have not provided us any information regarding water and sewer access.
Got it.
Our understanding was this is not a place for people to stay. They're coming there, leaving their vehicles, grabbing equipment, and
That makes sense.
heading
Okay.
off-site.
Okay. Let's see what other questions people have. Supervisor Grafsky, you're ready.
I am. So is an SUP is required to use this site for this purpose as a contractor storage yard. Does the application change, does anything change whether or not there's a building? Because, and the reason I ask that is because, you know, they propose having a building, not quite sure how big it is. It's definitely not going to be bigger than this, which makes me a little uneasy, but like, I guess, does anything change whether they propose a contractor storage yard with a shop or a building versus just using it out
No.
in the wide open?
No, not really. It would still require the same type of buffer yard.
Okay.
They would still require parking for their employees. It would still have to be paved and striped. It's just there wouldn't be a structure on site, so we wouldn't look at things like setbacks and things like that for the building.
And so if the request was just to have a contractor's storage yard and that was approved, would they be able to construct a building at a later date without any, I mean, other than building permits and things like that, but
It would have to be in general conformance with the concept plan if you included that condition on the SUP.
Got it.
So that means it shows 3 buildings. In my personal opinion, and it would be up to the zoning administrator, but if they came in and said, we're going to do 5 buildings, I would say that's not in general conformance. But if we have one building and it's showing 2,400 square feet and they say, oh no, we want to do a 1,200 square foot building, then that would probably be okay because it's lesser of an impact.
Right.
It's when you get more intensive, we would say you have to go back and modify your SUP.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay. Supervisor Bone?
Can you go back to the slide of both of the buildings with the parking spaces, please?
Maybe.
There you
Okay,
go.
yes. So this is the one located at the end of Rainbow Street.
Okay.
And maximum 200 by 100 foot building, 120 by 80 foot max with parking here.
Okay, so this doesn't show to me that they're going to store stuff from the parking lot. They're probably going to store stuff from the back. Is that true?
They're storing stuff here, correct.
Okay, what's the building for?
I would assume it would be maintenance of vehicles or equipment. They could also store some smaller equipment inside there, or if they have construction materials that need to be stored inside, that could be used for that storage building.
Okay, so they said 0 to 10 trips a day, and there are 32 parking spaces.
Yes.
I don't understand that math. Do you?
No,
Okay. Can I see the other one, please?
you can. So this is also a 200 by 100 foot max structure, and we have 32 parking spaces here. This is the one located down the hill in phase 1. You can see this is the existing home that is on the adjoining property here, and they have shown a buffer here to be installed.
So the outside storage can only be this big. Is that correct? And how many
Yes.
acres is this?
They do not have the acreage called out there. I think this is mainly storage in the building because my understanding is this is fill area. But that I'm not positive. We could ask Mr. Neal for clarification.
Can you go back to the other picture?
This one? Or
Because you pointed out
concept.
that the same, well, I mean, it looks like the same.
Agreed.
Fill area is outside the building where they would be storing most of the stuff.
correct.
So why would it be different on the other one? You don't know. Okay, those are my questions. Thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Bree before we turn to Mr. Neal? All right, Mr.
Would you all
Neal.
like me to leave these up?
Do you have a
or-
presentation, Mr. Neal? Okay. Welcome, sir. Thanks for being here.
Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the Board of Supervisors. I appreciate your time tonight. I hate to say it, I will kind of skip the presentation. Looks like we've had a lot of discussion. I'll kind of get into answering some questions. But I will just make a couple of specific points before we kind of get into the questions. And number one, and I don't think this has been an issue, but number one, our client, Black Diamond Resources, just purchased the site in 2023, and they have had no complaints from the neighbors to either the county or the town about their operations, and they have been operating the fill site during that time. So I think that's an important perspective to recognize and be aware of. And then also that the Planning Commission unanimously recommended approval of both of these SUPs. I think that's important. We dug into this with the Planning Commission a couple of different times. There were some specific questions about the traffic and transportation and which roads we were using. Black Diamond actually went out and we core sampled the street of Village Lane, went through that process of analyzing that for the trips per day. And I think, and I'm going to just talk in round numbers here. The trips per day was something like 1,800 allowable trips per day on that road. Is what the existing pavement that we analyzed and found, as well as the stone below it. And so, Mr. Grassley, you mentioned kind of the one of the challenges of trying to define as detailed as I think maybe you all would like us to, the number of trips per day is that is impossible. You cannot define how many trips per day because there are many, many days, and we submitted, and I think hopefully you all have seen, Black Diamond keeps traffic counts or trip counts or load counts of trucks coming in, things like that. We submitted that from June 2024 to June 2025. And so and those were totaled on a monthly basis. Those were totaled. And so some months, the bottom 3 months had 0 trips, 9 trips, and 15 trips over an entire month. The maximum number of trips, there was 1 month that had 545 trips. Now that's over the course of the entire month. The next one was 440, and then the next one was 261. So that's 6 of those 12 months where you have a extreme variability in the number of trips that are happening. It really just depends on the use of the site. So I want to point that out as it would be extremely challenging. I think Bree mentioned also extremely challenging to enforce. Kind of trying to set a specific number. And even then, at 545 trips, if we take the absolute maximum that you had over the course of a year and a month, when you divide that out over the course of the entire month, that's not that many trips per day. If you even had 50 trips per day, that would still only be 1,000 trips per month, roughly. And the traffic that we said was allowed was something like 1,900 trips per day. So I don't think the traffic is an issue or trips. I'd be happy to discuss it or answer any questions you have. And I'll touch on, there's several questions, the utility connections. And I apologize that it wasn't clear. There's no utility connections for the field site, and we had to submit these as 2 separate SUPs. But in our mind, this is kind of one project. There will absolutely be water and sewer to the contractor storage yard. We've talked with the town of Christiansburg about those water and sewer connections, and that'll have to be worked through with the department of Montgomery County called the PSA, and the town's public works. But that would just be a water and sewer connection. Utilities, obviously, we'd have security and safety lighting, but other than that, nothing. The question about the buildings, as we talked with Bree, she was like, hey, just as she mentioned to you all, if you wanted to do 5 buildings and we show 3, then you can't do that. So we have absolutely maximized this to the maximum that we think we would possibly do. But there is no intent by my client, and he can happily come up here and confirm that, to build all 3 of these buildings anytime in the remote future. They want to build them one shop building at some point in the relatively near future, and that would have a few offices and then also some shop space to service equipment and things like that, and to store some equipment that you might be a little bit more concerned that it's under more lock and key than just a fenced-in storage yard. The number of parking spaces is really just for illustrative purposes only. We will only have the number of parking spaces that we need for the building, but we did show that as kind of a basic conceptual layout of what the parking would look like and the building would look like. It is by no means the site plan. That site plan and the erosion sediment control plan and the stormwater management plan will all have to go through your county staff, environmental services, and planning department, and they will review all of that for all the requirements. So like I said, this is a 1-page, plan. Our site plan, the ENS plans are going to be, not 100 pages, but lots of pages of detail and information and things like that. That really is not it would be overwhelming for your all's responsibility to be looking at those things. The contractor storage yard, so this is the over by 460. This is also going to be contractor storage yard. Now, one of the things and one of the reasons that we mentioned have this as phase one is that is also going to be the fill site. So we will fill that site. But if you're aware of the site, if you've been out there, if you recognize it, it's a relatively gentle slope down that hillside there. So there will not be a ton of fill go in there. We're going to fill up from the bottom of the hill and to create a more level area for the contractor storage yard. But we showed, because we want to make sure that we cover everything, we show the entire area as contractor storage yard. It certainly may not cover that entire area when we go to fill in the site, and we'll end up using the contractor storage yard as the level space that we end up with closer up to the building. We did work through with staff on our buffer yard, the type 4 buffer yard. We're proposing a 20-foot wide type 4 buffer yard. We will certainly maintain all of the existing trees that we can, and then supplement those existing trees to take care of any gaps in accordance with the type 4 buffer yard. If this was agriculture, it could certainly have pieces of equipment out on it. It could certainly have the land torn up and tilled and planted and things like that. I don't think you will see anything on this storage yard that you couldn't see if it was an agriculture use as well. But we'll certainly make sure to that buffer gets installed and maintained. The dust control, yes, we do have to submit the dust control plan. There's E&S measures and water trucks and all those types of things that we would incorporate, and the county staff would review that plan as part of our site plan and an E&S plan and stormwater management plan. As far as the closeout is concerned, I'm trying to hit everything. Certainly, when I get finished, you can tell me what I've missed. But as far as the closeout, the E&S plan and the regulations that are in place right now, and actually I think y'all are going to go over this later on this evening. So page 37, section 877D.8 of these new regulations talks about that any site where we have an E&S plan or stormwater has to be finally stabilized. And that, as I think Scott mentioned, topsoil and seeding and getting vegetation established, that is the closeout plan. I mean, I can certainly put that as part, but we are required to do all that by the E&S plan. So I didn't think it was necessary to double say it for this. And then in 9 VAC 25-881, that defines final stabilization as full vegetation of the site, minimal barriers, things like that. So I think that's covered as part of the regulations that we absolutely have to follow doing anything in the county. Be happy to answer any questions. I'm sure I missed something.
Well, let's see what kind of questions people have. Supervisor Bone?
So I'd like Bree to come up if she could, because she might answer some questions, and just stay here for a second.
Sure.
So for this, as well as the other building site, is there a requirement for it to be level? Like, if they decided not to, for example, if it eventually was level with a fence around it, nobody from 460 could see it because it'd be too high up. Or, I would think it would be, anyway, I wouldn't have much problem with that because it's higher up. But is there a requirement for it to be flat?
There is not a requirement for it to be flat. The only requirement we would have is, as I stated, if there's a structure on it, it would have to be compacted, compacted fill. But we do not have a requirement that it would have to be flat.
So they don't have to fill it at all, and it's on the side of the hill, and it can be seen, and then they could have all this equipment in this storage yard fenced off, but everybody can see it from 460. Is that possible?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then, I have just a question about the parking spaces again. I understand that's as big as it can get. If they say 0 to 10, then trips a day, then if it's approved, can 15 years from now, it be 25 trips a day?
Yes, it could, as long as they had parking that could handle, any vehicular traffic that they had parking there. Yes, it could.
Could it be 100 trips a day?
Yes. Yes, we don't have anything that can regulate, we don't have any conditions that would regulate the maximum number of trips per day at any point throughout the process. So if they grew exponentially and wound up having 100 employees, as long as they could provide parking for those 100 employees, yes.
But let's say, and I know this is a crazy example, let's say they did have 100 employees 15 years from now, but they only had 32 spots. Could they really have, they couldn't build more parking spaces, is that correct?
They could build more parking spaces, yes. They would just have to meet any requirements for the ordinance. We do have some requirements once you get to a certain number of parking spaces, and I cannot tell you what that is without looking it up, that you have to provide additional landscaping and things like that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I don't have any other questions, thank you.
Okay, do we have any other questions here? Questions, Supervisor Grafsky?
I'm gonna
okay.
jump
Go right
into the
ahead.
traffic weeds again. And I appreciate that, Mr. Neal. And so if I read the documents correctly, that road is rated for 1,500, like a max of 1,500. The current AADT is around 850, okay? And then also, did I understand correctly, one trip with one of these large construction vehicles going through there is the equivalent of 20
So
automobiles
for a loaded dump truck.
for a loaded dump truck? So at least one way. So that puts us at about 33 trips then a day to get us at that 1,500 number, which, like I said earlier, that we have hit 33 at least 19 times. I'm less kind of concerned about the absolute number, but like what is the long-term impact on the road if it's rated for 1,500, and even if it's 19 times over the course of a year that we exceed that limit? Like, is it integrity? Does it break down?
So one of the things to keep in mind is that that's the average annual daily traffic. So that 1,500, I was thinking 1,700, 1,500, whatever it was, that's every day. So that's the average annual daily traffic. So we would have to be having that site with those numbers hitting every single day to create some kind of issue with the existing road that's in the town. So I'll be honest with you, I think it's pretty physically impossible to get to that point to where you are having a substantial, significant negative impact on the actual road surface.
Okay, yeah, and I don't expect that first time that we hit 1,501, all of a sudden
Then
the
it
road
breaks down.
collapsed or
Right,
something.
yeah,
But so thank you for that, because I'm just trying to understand what is that long-term impact, if any. So.
And so to kind of further on with that, let's say you did hit that average annual daily traffic for the entirety of the year. What you're going to see is that road pavement start to get worn down, and you'll see it cracking and things like that.
So it'll look like 81.
No comment.
Wise man.
But I think the numbers are so large that would have to be on that road with the site, with the physical limitations that the site has.
Right.
that we're not going to see that.
Well, I mean, definitely looking at the monthly, seems to be some seasonality. And like you said, it's just really dependent on construction activity in the
Right.
region and things like that. Everything we keep hearing is we need more houses, we need more construction. Sure. I anticipate that there's a reason that this gentleman is investing in this property because of the long-term outlook. So I do have some concerns for that neighborhood over the long term. We may be good now and for the next few years, but if the business does well, and I hope it does, but that can lead to a lot more traffic through a residential neighborhood.
And I do think one thing to point out is, I think there was a comment or somewhere about running through an apartment buildings area or something. So there's 3 roads. I don't know, Bree, is there a aerial view somewhere? So just to to clarify, the apartments are here, which is off of Simpson, I think. Simpson right here. None of the traffic will be on. Oh, I lost my. It's hard to. None of the traffic will be on that. That's not connected. That has a cul-de-sac. That's in. The traffic will be here on Village. Right here, Village Lane, coming into the site here or coming into the site this way. So, and no doubt we are passing some residences. There's about 15 houses there along that before you get out to, and then this is the old Pepsi warehouse bottling thing, and then Hubble is right here, and then the electric is, I think, right here, Bree, right? Yeah. The Chalet Electric. So I just wanted to point out we're not driving through an apartment complex's access drive or anything like that.
Okay, do we have any other questions for Mr. Neal from anybody? Okay, go ahead.
So on one of Bree's pictures, it showed the house right next door, and it's a 2-floor property. And I would expect that your buffer won't shield that 2nd floor window. Is that probably true?
Ask that again, sorry.
She'll find the right picture. Yeah, that's the one. So you see, well, there's actually an attic floor. Like your buffer, I'm sure, would prevent, if somebody's walking around, they're not going to see anything.
Sure.
But maybe on that 2nd floor, maybe on that 3rd floor, attic floor, even if there's a buffer there, they'll still be able to see in. Is that true?
I think it's possible. Mm-hmm. But one of the things to keep in mind is our site tremendously falls away from that. Mm-hmm. So they would be able to see the building that's sitting there. But as far as the fill site or any of that stuff, it's completely back and over the hill behind it.
Okay. And then, Marty, I've got a question for you. So if, I have no idea if it's going to be approved or not approved, but let's say that, like, for example, for me, I'm not a big fan of seeing anything from 460. So I would have to vote no on both. And maybe they could come back and just do the 2nd phase, for example. Would they be able to do that?
Yeah, if it's a substantially different project.
And that's
yeah.
what it sounds like to me.
And you could also say, would you be willing to amend what you have to address your
Sure.
concern on that?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Can we push this off so we can get some questions answered, and give them an opportunity to be able to address some of the concerns that have been laid out?
So right now, we're just in the public hearing. This is on our new business later on the agenda, so I think that's the appropriate place to have that type of discussion, correct, Marty?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So
But I think it's still relevant to talk about it now, but then the motion will be made at that point.
I'd certainly request if there are specific concerns that are hindering your acceptance, that we hear those.
Are you saying that you'd prefer that we be able to voice those questions tonight before a vote, if it looks like a vote would not be successful, to give you the opportunity to
Yes,
address the concerns?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think we will definitely be able to do that this evening.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, so seeing no other questions from the board, I am going to open this public hearing. And this is a public hearing on both special use permits for Black Diamond Resources LLC, the rubble landfill, and the contractor storage yard. We had a sign-up sheet out in front of the room. We did not have anybody sign up to speak to this public hearing. If there's anybody in the audience this evening that would like to come forward, please do so at this time. Seeing nobody come forward, I'm going to close that public hearing. We will discuss this more when we get to new business. And then we have one additional public hearing tonight. This is a proposed ordinance amendment for the planning and zoning fee schedule. This one is also brought to us by Bree. Welcome back.
Thank you. Haven't been here in a long time, so now I get to do 2 in one night. So Mr. Lawrence actually reviewed this with you previously through a work session to discuss some proposed updates to the fee schedule. Just in case we have people in the audience that didn't get to hear that, I'm going to give a brief description and then let you guys roll into your public hearing. We are proposing no fee for a special use permit to allow a manufactured home in a residential zoning district. That is something that came forward from the board a while back because we do require a special use permit if you're in R3 zoning district. That application is $500, and then they would also incur the cost of legal advertising. So in order to alleviate some of those expenses, we are proposing to remove that fee, and they would only have to pay the legal advertising cost, which, by the way, has been drastically reduced with our ability to advertise through Cardinal News. And when I say drastic, I mean more than half. So it has been very advantageous for us to advertise that way. We've also added a special use permit review fee for solar facilities. We've clarified inert fill sites and changed that fee. Those two types of applications require a lot of staff time and a lot of review. It also requires some coordination that we don't normally have with some other departments. And sometimes on these requests, we would also want to go out and have a consultant help us review those, especially for solar facilities. I do want to clarify, these are for large utility scale solar facilities, not for residential roof mounted or ground mounted solar sites. So this is just for the large utility scale. For site plan reviews, we added a minor site plan review. So a lot of times we'll have people that will come in, if you will remember, to do a change in use. So you just had a church that you approved out on Carriage Road in Reiner. They're converting it to a training facility. The only way we have to accommodate that is a regular site plan review fee. For us, it's pretty minor because there's not any buildings. They might have existing pavement there, so we're not looking at that. They just need to show us where they're going to plant a few trees and how they're going to stripe their lot. So we just felt it wasn't right to charge the full fee. So we've reduced that fee for those minor site plans. We did add fees for extra plan reviews. We increased that. There have been some state code revisions that require us to have a much faster turnaround time. This is once you get to the third review and beyond. It also requires a different level of approval in that any site plan or something like that that would come through that requires that third or subsequent review. Not only does the letter have to be issued by our development planners, but I actually have to issue something from that as planning director too. So I have had a situation already where I was at a conference, I got a text, hey, this letter's due out today, we got the review done. So then I had to review it while I was on site somewhere and send that, because that is a state code requirement. We are eliminating the preliminary review fee for preliminary plats. The reason we are doing that is that process has kind of went away. State code no longer requires a preliminary plat review. So most folks, what they are deciding to do is just incorporate that with their major subdivision review fee. So we've just decided even if they do request that preliminary plat review fee, it's not a whole lot extra work, so we can just incorporate that within the major subdivision. And then we've simplified all of our fees to exclude calculations based on acreage. So what we have had come up a lot in our current system is if you have an acreage or portion thereof, our software system looks at the acreage of the total lot. It never fails, and if Mr. Neal is still here, which it looks like he is not, he can probably speak to the fact they can't submit their application and then just submit a payment with it. They always wait for us to recalculate it because it's always some weird type of formula. So we really want to make this much more customer friendly and have a much more customer service approach to that. It will also enable us to program our software much easier to produce just those flat fees, and they can pay as soon as they submit. They also, it will keep a delay. So currently, if they submit, we have to calculate the fee, get back to them, and then if it's a site plan or a plat, we don't process it until payment's received. So if they can calculate their fee and submit fee and payment all at one time, then their process starts immediately. So that does take a couple of days off. So that is kind of our goal with that. I will answer any questions that you may have.
Great.
And then we can move forward.
Thank you, Bree. Does anybody have any questions? I know we got a first look at this at our extended work session recently. So I'm not seeing any questions on my left. Anything? Okay. I'm not seeing any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We will go ahead and open this public hearing on the ordinance amending the county's planning and zoning fees. We did not have anybody sign up using the sign-up sheet out front, but if anybody in the audience would like to speak to this, please come forward. Seeing nobody, we will close that public hearing. And then the next item on our agenda is public address. On public address, we also had a sign-up sheet out in the lobby. I did not have anybody sign up for public address, but if anybody would like to come forward and speak during public address, you have 4 minutes. Please start with your name and where in the county you reside. Welcome.
Thank you. My name is Anna Bajayan, and I live in District A. I don't know how many of you regularly listen to school board meetings, but I encourage you to listen to them because you can learn a lot about how the schools are functioning, where their strengths and their challenges lie, and their real budgetary needs. In last week's meeting, there was a presentation from BWP and Associates, the firm that was chosen to assist in the hiring of the new superintendent. The 5 main concerns that BWP found among stakeholders were student mental health, funding, educational options and programs, maintenance of facilities, and personnel. These are all issues that could benefit from additional school funding. But one of the BWP professionals' statements was especially striking, and I wanted you all to hear it. Remember, this is not an MCPS insider speaking. It's an outside professional giving their assessment of what they found. And this is a quote. What's the issue? This is regarding funding. Adequate compensation to compete. When we did the operational staff, there's a lot of positions that aren't filled. And the reason, the competition out there is paying more. And so they have vacancies. And that's why a lot of your mechanics are driving buses. That wasn't the intention. End quote. In other words, funding for operational positions needs to increase in order for these positions to be filled. And I've been listening to school board meetings for a long time. I don't think it's just operational positions. The same could be said for special education teacher positions, and I know that's increased in the past year, but it could increase more. Also, funding for paraprofessionals, funding for subs, and the list goes on. I don't disagree with the school board's funding priorities. I think the school board actually does a really fantastic job allocating its pot of money in a way that goes as far as it can to benefit our students. I think the problem is with the size of the pot of money that the school board is given. And of course, that's where you all come in. And you can help the school board fill the vacant positions that they currently have by increasing school funding over the rate of inflation in your next budget. Again, it's clear to an outside educational observer that there is need for increased funding, not just to make our schools better, and by creating new programs, but also for the very basic reason that positions are actually being left vacant, not filled, because of the lack of adequate compensation, leaving the schools unable to compete with other employers. Please fix this issue by meaningfully increasing school funding in the upcoming budget. That is, by increasing school funding at a rate that significantly exceeds the rate of inflation. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. Would anybody else like to come forward to speak during public address? Okay, seeing nobody else come forward, I'm going to close public address, and we are going to take a 10-minute, we're going to take an 11-minute break. I'm feeling very generous. We'll come back at 9:10 p.m. Okay, let's come back to order. Our next item is work session, and we're going to have a work session tonight on erosion, sediment control, and stormwater ordinance. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion about going into work session?
No.
Okay, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fitchikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMott?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, so we're in work session. Tonight we have a presentation from Meredith Jones, our county engineer. And then we'll ask as many questions as we need. Welcome, Meredith. We're glad you're here.
Board, thank you. I'm so excited to be here for my first time in front of you. Seen and worked with some of you before. Appreciate being here tonight. I'm gonna make sure I do this right. I'm looking for my present. That one. Thank you. I appreciate it. Nope, that's okay. All right, so I'm here tonight to talk to you about the new stormwater ordinance adoption or proposal for adoption in front of you here. So just a quick history. You all have heard this before, so I will be pretty brief about it. What we're talking about here is the Virginia Erosion and Stormwater Management Act that was passed in 2016 by the Virginia General Assembly, which directed the Department of Environmental Quality consolidate our ordinances and our regulations to combine the erosion sediment control and the stormwater management ordinance into one ordinance, which is great. It reduces confusion, reduces redundancy and conflicts between the two existing sets of regulations. So it makes our lives easier, it makes developers' lives easier, so it's a good thing. The State Water Control Board approved it in 2023, and in July 1st of 2024, localities were directed to adopt new regulations, consolidating the ordinance into one ordinance. Along with that also came new DEQ handbook, which had requirements and really explained those requirements a lot better. So the change to us is that we've got a combined program that the Virginia Erosion and Sediment Control Program and the Virginia Stormwater Management Program are now combined into what we call the Virginia Erosion and Stormwater Management Program. So as I mentioned, we had a new handbook that the DEQ put out. We have actually been using that since July 1st of 2025. Some elected to use it since July 1st of 2024, depending on what they were allowed to choose in that first year, whether they wanted to use those regulations or not. So we've had some experience. The development community has actually been using it and required to use it since July 1st. There was a revised spreadsheet with that that, like I said, did become mandatory this year on July 1st. So this is about a new ordinance combining the two. So the combination of those two ordinances into the the Erosion and Stormwater Management Ordinance that we now have in front of you for adoption incorporates the new changes to state regulations, which include the following, and I won't go into too much detail on these, but in general, the DEQ expanded the land cover types that we use and applied new pollutant loadings to those based on research that had been conducted over the years. It reduced pollutant loading from the development, so that's actually become stricter. So while the pollutant amount that you can release is reduced, that means there are more BMPs required to do that reduction potentially. There is new grandfathering in the ordinance that we have regulations that were allowed to be used at one point. Well, now that grandfathering is a little more strict, and they've moved on to the new requirements. There is no going back to the old requirements unless you are some specific cases. And there are new best management practices that were proposed as part of that. So the important thing I want to bring forward to you is that the county is matching those minimum state regulations that are required. We are not going above and beyond what those regulations are. We are following exactly what the state says that we have to follow with these regulations. We did add some items that already exist in our other codes, like the building code, that would be particularly helpful in erosion and stormwater management for us to include in this ordinance under site planning and site plan requirements. Some of those things we talked about tonight a little bit, such as compaction of fill sites, that is now in our ordinance here, even though it's already, as Bree mentioned, in the building code as a requirement. It's now in this ordinance as a requirement for site plans to show how they intend to compact those fill areas. It also contains some steep slope language for the protection of existing and future lots, and that's looking at maximum slopes that are allowed. Oops, oh boy, sorry about that. So the proposed schedule we have before you for the ordinance adoption would be the work session tonight, where I can answer any questions you may have. We would propose adoption of a resolution on tonight's agenda authorizing staff to advertise the ordinance and notify the public of the board's intention to consider the ordinance on November 24th of 2025 at your meeting. And then proposed adoption of an ordinance approving the change on that 11/24 agenda. Some additional administrative items that would occur for us if that proposal is and that ordinance is adopted is we would have some forms to update with new code references. We have an agreement in lieu of form that we would like to update so that the applicant needs to provide more information on that. It would help us improve our review efficiency. There's a lot of back and forth that happens right now. And our desire would be to get that information up front so that we can review things a lot more efficiently for people that are using agreement in lieu of forms. And then finally, as you all have probably heard prior to this, we would finalize a Montgomery County Stormwater Manual that would really provide the development community with more helpful information on our county process, which isn't proposed to change. It will stay largely the same, but incorporate these new requirements and regulations in them. And then give sort of a better or an easier interpretation of what the state regs and the handbook requirements are, because some of them are difficult to understand, and we can say it in less words and help people get through it and get through our process. So that is all I have.
Fantastic. Okay, what kind of questions do people have? Don't all volunteer at once. Supervisor King?
I'm reading through some of these changes, and it's talking about farmers. How's that going to affect the farmers?
The farmers?
Yeah, it's talking about their buildings and...
Is there a section specifically that you're referring to?
Adequate channels mean the channels that will convey the design frequency for stormwater runoff.
Right, so agricultural uses are exempt under erosion and sediment control laws. They're exempt. So there shouldn't be, to my knowledge, any changes in here in this ordinance that we're adopting any different from what the current state regulations are doing regarding that.
Okay. Well, after the meeting, I'll show this to Angie, and she can show you tomorrow or something what I'm seeing in here.
Okay.
Okay.
That's what, is there a specific section that you're referring to?
Is it the section about agricultural and conservation in A1 and C1?
It don't have no section on it. It don't have no section number or nothing on it.
So there's an exemption section that talks about different agricultural uses that are exempt, and is that the section that
It's
you're?
on page 17 if you scroll down.
So that's already in our code, I believe. That has to do, so it says farm building or structure on a parcel of land with a total impervious cover percentage, including, so we're allowed to issue an agreement in lieu of if a farmer is doing, has a land disturbance that exceeds 10,000 square feet, but the makeup of that total square footage doesn't exceed a total percent of their parcel, then we can issue an agreement in lieu of for that. But that's not a change from what we do now. So they may be more than 10,000 square feet with their disturbance, but that farm use, it's basically somewhat of an exemption because it's saying that they don't have to do a site plan, a full-blown site plan, even though they are more than 10,000 square feet of disturbance, that they would be able to file for an agreement in lieu of. Even if they were more than an acre, they would be able to file for an agreement in lieu of if that total percentage of impervious cover was less than, I think it's 5% of the total parcel that they have.
Okay.
So, but we do that now.
All right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, do we have any other questions? Supervisor Bone?
Hey, let's say a year ago, one of my constituents called me to his home and showed me how his neighbor across the street's paved driveway shoots water across the street down into his house. And so we talked about, like, with VDOT, putting grates, you know, at the end of those kinds of driveways to get the water into the ditches as opposed to just keep letting it, you know, is, as far as a new requirement for new development, if the development's on a hill, make sure that the driveways get the water into the ditches. Does any of this, of what I'm describing, fit into any of these regulations?
Yes.
Okay.
So again, this is, with that situation, is exactly what we're doing now. If it's a single-family detached, this gets very complicated. But if it's a single-family detached structure and it is if it's under 10,000 square feet of disturbance, there is no permit that's required. If it's between 10,000 square feet of disturbance and an acre, then there is what we call an agreement in lieu of. So if you're talking about a single-family detached structure up on a hill, whether it's up on a hill or down in the ravine, doesn't matter. If it's between 10,000 square feet and an acre, we are allowed to give what's called an agreement in lieu of a plan. And what that does is it says that you don't have to have an engineer do a full-blown plan, but you still have to meet the erosion and sediment control requirements. And we get those calls all the time for people that are doing those types of disturbances, and then we enforce upon them an agreement in lieu of plan where they have to comply with the erosion and sediment control regulations. If they're over an acre, there's a different permit that's required for that. They can still potentially do an agreement in lieu of plan, but there's also a stormwater agreement in lieu of that they can do as well. And it's not getting them out of the regulations, but it's a shorter way, a less maybe expensive way for them to show how they're meeting the regulations. And part of that would be finding a downstream channel.
So for homes that are already built that had a driveway, let's say 200 feet long, average width, you said 10,000 feet. So 200 times 10 feet wide is 20,000 feet?
2,000.
2,000 feet? So what do the people do when, like, the person who lives below, it's like a waterfall, you know, into his yard and all that kind of stuff. What do they do?
So on an agreement in lieu of plan, they're required to show that they're maintaining sheet flow off of their site. If they're not maintaining sheet flow, there are requirements, erosion sediment control requirements, that say that they've got to direct their water to what's called an adequate channel. And so
So
that is technically part of what an agreement in lieu of plan says that they'll agree to do.
So.
But that's not changed in these regulations, it's all we
Right.
do that
So
now.
2,000 square feet, they still need one of those.
No, if it's less than 10,000
Right.
square feet, they don't need.
So too bad for the guy downstream, right?
Well, I guess the erosion sediment control law theory that DEQ has, that we're carrying forward in our regulations, is that if there is not more than 10,000 square feet of disturbance, single-family detached structures are able to, any disturbance, whether it's commercial or single-family,
Supervisor Boone,
don't have to do anything.
since you have a specific question about a constituent, maybe you could get with Meredith, and she could help that person get into a better position.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Yep, I'd be happy to do that.
Okay, do we have any other questions about the ordinance? Okay, wonderful. Thank you, Meredith. We really appreciate, great first presentation. We look forward to many, many riveting presentations to come. Is there a motion to go out of work session?
Motion. Second.
Whoa. Good luck with that, Vicki. Okay, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, and next we have consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any discussion on consent? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, our first item of new business this evening is the special use permit for Black Diamond Resources LLC. This is in regards to the rubble landfill. Is there a motion?
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to defer.
Okay. Do you want to make a motion to defer to a specific date or to a point where questions are answered?
I'm good either way. There's some things I need to ask, and it's not for them, it's for staff. And there's a couple things I just need answered, so
So how about we say we
flexible.
okay. Marty?
Yeah, it's always better to put a date.
Okay.
If you're good
So
with
how
it.
about a motion to defer to either November 12th or November 24th? How much?
I'm good with the 12th. I think.
Okay.
Does that give staff time to answer those questions?
I think so, yes.
Okay.
So-
Then I'd like to defer to the 12th, please.
Okay, Supervisor Kitts has made a motion to defer decision until November the 12th. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, and then any discussion, and now would be a great time to maybe bring up some of those questions, or what should be the process, Angie?
He can email them to us.
Okay, and will you share them with the applicant?
Yes.
Okay. So if we have questions that need to be answered,
Email them to me, and then I'll make sure they get routed to the right people.
okay. Okay, do we have any other discussion?
Well, I think the concerns that we stated, those are the ones I want answers for.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to defer until November the 12th. That motion has been seconded. We've had discussion. Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll on the motion to defer.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King? Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes to defer.
Okay.
If there are new questions, you can email those to me. I think that if there are just questions that didn't get answered during the meeting, perhaps the applicant could watch the online, could watch the meeting and get those questions answered.
I have, the applicant wants to come forward and ask something. Is that okay, Marty?
I think it's up to the board. Yeah.
Okay.
Aye.
Aye.
Please come to the lectern, Mr. Neal.
Thank you, I apologize. I would like to request, because I hate to say it, I thought I answered all the questions. So if you could somehow assemble questions, specific questions that need specific answers, I'll be happy to do that. But I'll be honest with you, from the discussion, I thought I answered all the questions.
Okay.
So if you could help me out, that'd be great.
Okay.
I think we can definitely do that and make sure that you're provided with that as soon as possible.
Yes, yeah, and we'll be happy to be ready for the 12th.
Okay, fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Neal.
Thank you. Yeah.
The next item on new business is a special use permit for Black Diamond Resources LLC. This is related to the contractor's storage yard. Is there a motion?
Again, I'd like to follow this up with a motion to defer to the 12th.
Okay.
I'll second it.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to defer to the November 12th meeting. We'll follow the same protocol of providing questions, any additional questions to staff, and then we'll get that information to the applicant as quickly as possible.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So my questions are now reduced to purely view shed questions from 460. I still don't have a good understanding, and maybe it's a Breeze staff, somebody's driving and somebody's taking a picture kind of thing. I don't know what that is, just to see what kind of view shed for the phase one. That's my big, and I personally wouldn't be able to say yes to either SUPs until I was confident that the view shed from 460 was protected.
Okay,
Thank you.
so staff has that.
Yes.
Do we have any other discussion on the motion to defer?
I mean, I'll just say for the record that this one I was satisfied with and what would have been prepared to vote on. So, you know, I'll go with the vote of the board here, but I was okay with this one.
Okay.
Didn't it, excuse me, didn't it say something in here that the applicant wanted to keep them both together? Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so seeing no more discussion, we will take a vote on the motion to defer until November the 12th.
Mr. Grafsky?
No.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
I'm going to vote aye on account of what I stated. The owner wanted to keep them together.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
6 ayes, 1 no.
Okay, our next item on new business is the ordinance amending the planning and zoning fees that we discussed in our our second public hearing this evening. Is there a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Next item is an MCPS supplemental appropriation for the School Nutrition Fund for fiscal year 25 in the amount of $313,000. We do have somebody here from the schools if needed.
Yes, and I would like to point out that this is for the prior fiscal year. So if there are any questions about the impact of that, I'm sure Ms. Bland can address that.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved, or second?
Okay, is there any discussion or questions?
This money's for last year?
Yes.
They didn't feed the kids?
They did feed the kids, but when everything was, I will say this, and then if I'm incorrect or you need to add anything, feel free. When everything was closed out at the end of the year, the school nutrition fund was over budget. They have funds that were in their fund balance because school nutrition funds remain in the in that fund. So they're appropriating that to cover the shortfall.
So the nutrition fund was overfunded last year,
Overspent.
underspent.
Overspent. They spent more than was in the budget.
They've had more kids than they'd expected to feed.
That's right.
The 313 is coming from last year,
Yes. And it's going into
going
last year.
to this year's.
It is, no, it's coming from last year and it's going into last year. So when our final financial statements are reported for the end of the year, it will be included in that number. There have been occasions in the past, it's usually earlier in the new fiscal year, that the schools have had to make adjustments to their appropriations to get things either in the right category or a small adjustment to the school nutrition fund.
Okay.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Ms. Bland, did we handle that? Great, okay, just wanted to confirm. All right, seeing no more discussion, Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, the next item of new business is to advertise the proposed ordinance to amend Montgomery County Code related to county erosion and stormwater management program. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Ms. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Our final new business item is for Operation Greenlight for Veterans Recognition. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and Angie, did you have something?
I do have something to add. The resolution states that we'll light the Courthouse and Government Center and Public Safety Building from November 4th through the 11th in honor of veterans. Will actually be lit through November the 12th because we're going to have a representative come on November 12th and present to the board from the Buddy New River Valley chapter. And he's going to speak about activities that are done in Montgomery County in our region to help with suicide prevention for veterans. So we wanted to extend that one day. It doesn't have to change the resolution, but I just wanted you to know that somebody will be here at the next meeting.
Okay, fantastic. All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Madam Clerk, if you'll call the roll, please.
Mr. Fidzikowski?
Aye.
Ms. Biggs?
Aye.
Mr. Grafsky?
Aye.
Ms. Bone?
Aye.
Mr. Kitts?
Aye.
Mr. King?
Aye.
Chair DeMotts?
Aye.
7 ayes.
Okay, next we have reports. County Attorney's report.
No report, Madam Chair.
Shocking. County Administrator's report.
I have a few things. The magistrate's office moved into their new building the week of October 20th. There were some delays, as you know, due to some IT challenges related to the state system, but those were mitigated and overcome, and they got to move into their new facility, so that's exciting. I wanted to say a little bit about the tourism strategic planning session that Samantha mentioned. It was awesome. There was a whole lot of really good participation. It was, as she said, a portion of Wednesday and Thursday. Bree and Jim were both there, as well as Brian Hamilton and myself. So it was really great to get that, to gather the information, and then a report will come through with the strategic planning in the future. A lot of passenger rail things happened last week. On Thursday, there was a passenger rail station authority meeting, and then a passenger rail committee meeting Thursday afternoon. And then Friday, I had the opportunity to tour the facility where the station will be renovated and tour the new building that they have built. That was very interesting, and we learned a lot about the how that's all going to come to pass. And it is still on track for 2027. And I was going to try not to say that.
You gotta say
It's on schedule for 2027.
Is it August 2027?
They would not commit to a month.
I know, we keep pressuring.
They actually said when the students come back for Thanksgiving break, and I said, I thought it was when they came back to school in August.
Yeah.
And then there was no more pinning down after that. We got an email today from Michael Geary, the Mission CIT, who is our fire and EMS consultant for that study. They will be on site for many visits. I'm going to just email that schedule to you because it's very comprehensive. They'll be here from Thursday, November 13th. There will be a Fire and Rescue Commission meeting that night to kick it off, and they'll be here, I think, through Monday. And then the last Montgomery Matters Comp Plan Open House will be on November 17th from 5 to 7:30 to kind of confirm what's been gathered so far with those meetings with the open houses in the villages. And then I just wanted to make sure everybody knew that our next meeting will be on Wednesday, November 12th, because of the VACO conference. That's my report.
Fantastic. All right, we'll move to board members' reports. Supervisor Bone?
I want to wish everybody a happy Halloween, and I hope that it's safe for everyone. I do want to thank the board for allowing Gun and Kiran to attend the VACO conference. That's it. Thank you.
Supervisor Grafsky?
Ooh, me. I think we all got the email today from Connie Vire with updated early voting numbers. So that was real encouraging. We're up right around 8,700 with a week to go. And so let this be everybody's reminder for the thousands of viewers I'm sure we have online that early voting ends this coming Saturday, November 1st. And so if you don't get your early vote in, then you'll have to wait until Election Day and vote in your precinct, not at our lovely early voting locations in either Christiansburg or Blacksburg, which will be open this weekend. That's all I got.
Perfect. Supervisor Kitts?
No report.
Supervisor Biggs? Supervisor King? We'll go back to Ms. Biggs.
You lost your turn.
Oh, you didn't. We'll go back
I
to
was
you.
just, all I was going to say is sort of.
No report.
Follow it up. I just wanted to follow up on what Supervisor Grafsky said in that, I guess it was over the weekend, I ran into various people that had voted at the Blacksburg site on Saturday, and they were thanking us for having that available. That's all I was going to say.
Okay. Vice Chair Fizikowski?
All I got to say is I'm glad we were invited to a Virginia Tech game that they won. That's all my report.
And I also don't have a report this evening, so this meeting is adjourned.